I guess we're going to talk about this. I was initially just going to ignore it when I saw the reactions all over the internet, but everyone who's talking about this issue seems not to fully grasp what is happening. So, let's talk about it. My name is Reuby, and this is are like me and live under a rock, let me bring you up to speed. So, a while back, there was an announcement that ChatGPT can now create art in the style of famed Japanese animator Hayao Miyazaki. The announcement has turned into a massive trend, and everyone and their dog or cat, remember we are inclusive here, has hopped onto it to generate images of themselves in this style. Initially, I thought nothing of it. Well, I still do think it is a nothing bugger, at most a clever way for OpenAI to boost its stock evaluation. I just thought I might address the current situation with AI because I think it is quite fascinating. And with close to 10 years of experience running my own animation business, I can give you a unique perspective on this issue. By the end of this video, if you are an artist or love art or animation, maybe I can give you a reason to shut out the noise and just continue creating. This whole Studio Ghibli situation, or the Ghiblification of AI, as I have seen some people refer to it, is very personal to me, as I learned how to run an animation studio from animation masters in Japan. Back in 2014, I was entering my last year of film studies, and my dad was working in Japan at the time. He noticed how big the animation industry was in Japan, and he really pushed for me to go over there during my school break. So, around May of 2014, I flew over to Japan, and while I was there, I spent a month touring various animation studios and meeting up with animation directors and producers who showed me around the studios and how they made animation. I was lucky to visit some very famous studios like Nihon Animation, A1 Pictures, Polygon Pictures, and even Studio Ghibli Museum itself. I spent a lot of my first year of university studying animation history, and to finally be in Japan visiting some of the places I read about in animation history books was like a fever dream to me. While ultimately I couldn't see myself working in the Japanese animation industry, the work conditions were not the greatest. What I learned during my trip was invaluable and has led me to heights in my career I could never have fathomed. So, what's all this got to do with Studio Ghibli and AI, you ask? For most of us outside Japan, we see Japanese animation through the highly commercialized anime, but there's a much richer diversity within Japan. While anime pays the bills, the majority of Japanese animation doesn't look anything like anime at all. One of the professors I met, a wonderful gentleman called Yuichi Ito, specialized in making stop-motion animation, rich, visually stimulating animations that did not even fit the typical Japanese anime mold. In fact, one of my most memorable moments from this trip came from a visit to an animation conference where a friend I was with told someone at an animation stand, "I am an animator." I was swiftly led to a stop-motion set with 2 Play-Doh ducks and asked to animate something on the fly. It was nerve-wracking, especially since whenever someone heard I was an animator, they got really excited and it drew a lot of attention. So, with that in mind, you can imagine the esteem someone like Hayao Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli have in Japan. Funny enough, Miyazaki dislikes anime. So for you anime fans, sorry, in his words, anime is not art, but I will not go there. If you want to really understand the superstar status top animators in Japan have, watch the movie Haken Anime or Anime Supremacy. Directed by Kohei Yoshino, I think it captures the industry very well. Hayao Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli represent an era in animation that frankly no longer exists outside Japan, a period where stewards of animation had control over the type of films they wanted to make. what we call in the movie industry auteurs. More creative control was solely taken from artists and given to company executives in subsequent years. It is increasingly rare to have films that are entirely made free from corporate oversight. Studio Ghibli remains the only animation studio that most people who don't like anime can actually watch. Trust me, I have tried countless of times to get my lady to watch anime, and she doesn't budge. Why is this? Well, I think it comes down to excellent marketing outside Japan, and second, unlike most anime, Studio Ghibli movies actually do mirror human experiences and have a profound respect for life itself. It's a core philosophy of what makes Ghibli movies stand out from other anime in Japan. It's this reason that there's been a negative reaction to OpenAI training their models on Studio Ghibli art. I don't recall this much backlash when they did it with Pixar. Maybe it's because Pixar sold its soul for profits over a decade ago. I can only speculate. So, if AI can now replicate the works of Studio Ghibli, a sacred institution of art and entertainment, what's the point of creating art then? Why dedicate your life to learning art only for some machine to generate your life's work in a matter of seconds? Well, if you put it like that, then why bother learning to walk or run when cars can do it faster? AI remains just a tool, the same way as a car. Sure, we can get to places faster with cars, but does it mean if we walk there, we still won't get to places we want to go? Technology is here to reduce the effort we put into getting things done. Whether we like it or not, AI is here to stay forever. During the Industrial Revolution, machines replaced human workers. Sure, some people lost livelihoods, but it also resulted in the end of slavery in most places in the world. And World War I. But we leave that for our upcoming project, Amsideria, the Flying Man, which you can follow on our website, the Amsiderian Gazette. Link in the description. When computers first arrived, there was fear that they would replace jobs. Fast forward today, most of us use computers for work. A lot of artists have this irrational fear of technology, and I get it. We spend a lot of time practicing our craft, so it feels like a slap in the face when a machine comes out that can do it faster and better. Back in the day, graphic designers had to painstakingly design manuscripts by hand. It took hours, and revisions were a nightmare. Now you can do the same thing on software, and if you make an error, you can just hit Ctrl-Z, and error is fixed in a blink. Sure, now anyone can design a poster on Canva, but not everyone has the artistic sensibilities to come up with a compelling design. Let's put it this way. AI can generate entire codes for websites and apps, and is fairly decent at it. But at the end of the day, if I give somebody who doesn't know anything about programming access to LLMs like ChatGPT and tell them to generate a website, chances are you're going to get a website that isn't optimized and will have multiple vulnerabilities for hackers to exploit. So, while AI can copy art, it doesn't understand the creative decisions that go into creating the said art. Let me give you another perspective. The only people AI is going to replace are those who make fan art on Discord servers and Fiverr. And while it will take income away from these artists, they were never going to give back their revenues to the original creators they copy art from. One of the arguments against AI I have seen is that it will take commission income away from artists. The answer is no. Someone who is going to ChatGPT and generating art had no intention of paying the original artist from the beginning. How do I know this? I freelanced a lot online, and I kid you not, a lot of people who would approach me with requests like, hey, can you create art exactly like this artist? You click the link they send you to see the art style they're referring to, and it leads you directly to an artist's Instagram feed. And when I press them to contact the artist and ask them to do it for them instead, the response is typically, yeah, they are expensive. Often these types of people would not be open to coming up with unique artistic styles for their projects. So, no, AI does not take away commission jobs from artists. Those who value your art will always approach you directly. Also, if you're famous like Miyazaki, even a pencil sketch can buy someone a house. Copycats have always existed in art, so AI simply took their jobs. The other group I see afflicted by AI are studio artists. This is a bit more concerning than the first group. When I was studying animation, there were two schools of thought. You're either trained to be very good at replicating a particular studio's style, or trained to follow your unique creative voice. In animation, we call it either the Disney style, Pixar style, or anime style. It's essentially a template that can be replicated across different productions. So the better you are at replicating a particular style or design characters in a particular way, the more likely you are to get work in animation studios. This method was perfected in the 1950s to replicate assembly lines in factories. Eventually, workers in factories were replaced with robots. In animation, these studio artists are being slowly replaced with AI. It's unfortunate, but that's the future we're headed to. So it's time for artists to take stock and figure out a way forward. While AI is transforming the way we create, it's important to remember that it's the human touch that makes projects unforgettable. That's why I'm inviting you to join the Amsideria Gazette. You'll get exclusive behind-the-scenes access as we bring our latest project, Amsideria, the Flying Man, to life, showing you the trials, the triumphs, and the creative chaos that goes into creating our projects from scratch. It's easy to forget the hard work that goes into creative projects, especially when all we see are polished final versions of intellectual properties we love so much. Join the Amsiderian Gazette and get a front row seat to witnessing our projects come to life. See the link in the description. For indie artists who cultivated their inner voices, AI has leveled the playing field. Because the tools can be used to automate certain workflows, there's no need to have millions of dollars to create animation. Richard Williams, the legendary animator behind Who Framed Roger Rabbit, spent 28 years making a film that was eventually never released. If he had access to AI, he might have done the film in under 10 years. So, what's the way forward in the AI future? With each new technology come new jobs that previously never existed. So it's highly unlikely jobs will be replaced without adding new ones. What does this mean for artists? AI will make creating art more accessible to independent artists. When I started animation back in 2011, we would always dream of earning enough money to afford computers that would render our short films in record time. Those were workstations that cost over $20,000 that only Pixar or Disney could afford. Back then, we would spend over a week rendering a single 480p frame of a student short film that had probably 2 props and a single character. It was a nightmare. Today, I don't even use the 24 cores on my CPU. I can rent a server for pennies and render a 6-minute 4K animation in less than a week. Technology has made it more accessible to create animation. One of the biggest challenges creating independent animation is finding competent artists to work on projects. The gifted artists are a dream to work with, but when you're running a small studio, you can't afford to keep them for the entire duration of a project. Once in a while, you'll luck out and find someone extremely talented who just loves your project and they take a big pay cut to make it happen. Usually, these talents are always reserved for the big players with deep pockets. Most clients I used to work with often echoed this too. It's very difficult to find mid-level artists who are reliable. One of the most common complaints I've heard is artists ghosting clients mid-projects or overpromising on their abilities. This I have experienced so many times and can really ruin your reputation as a studio if you are unable to deliver projects. I believe AI can help small independent creators compete with huge studios, and this will lead to a very vibrant and diverse industry. One of the key pieces of advice I got when beginning my animation career is have a lot of interests outside animation. As an animator, I can paint with a brush. I do enjoy photography. I listen to different genres of music. study live action films, study cameras, cinematography, read science, history, do a bit of coding here and there. In actuality, I don't consume a lot of animation content. Having interest in things outside animation means you have a lot of references to pour into your work. Photography can help you understand light and composition. Live action or theater will help you understand staging. Having a keen interest in dance helps you understand movement. Science will open you to discovering interesting creatures or concepts you can use in your stories. Because AI is very good at the technical stuff, it frees you to explore more of your humanity. And as long as humans are on this planet, they'll crave for that human connection. And as people become more and more lonely, there will be a huge demand for projects that have a soul and offer substance. If you're an artist feeling lost and wondering why you should even create art in the age of artificial intelligence, first, don't be too caught up in the technical nuances of your craft. You can't outcompete a machine. 2, understand that much of what the internet preaches about AI is hype meant to boost stock valuations of AI companies. Like NFTs, the hype will pass. And when these AI companies need to start making profits, these LLMs will no longer be accessible for the masses. Lastly, understand that AI cannot solve problems it has never encountered. So there will always be need for human intervention. Instead of letting doom baiting on the internet inflate your anxiety, pour life into your work. This is what makes Studio Ghibli's movies very captivating. It is not just technical prowess, it's because their films are a celebration of life itself. My name is Ru Atiti, and you have been watching Little Reuby.